This is the burial of your old self. Not a makeover, not a reinvention, a burial. The future you want already exists, but not for the person you are right now. To reach it, you will have to die. Not your body, your identity, the story, the version of you that was built from fear, shaped by silence, and fed by people who needed you small to feel big. Deep down, you know exactly what you're capable of. You've seen it in the flashes, in the quiet, in the late-night ache you can't explain. But potential isn't a promise. It's a threat to everything you're still protecting. Because the version of you that survives off comfort, off hesitation, off excuses, that version can't cross. It has to burn by your own hand. Because between who you are and who you could become, there is a funeral. And most people, they spend their lives dressing the corpse instead of letting it rot. We're taught to believe that growth is peaceful, that you'll simply wake up one day and become the person you were meant to be. But that's a lie. Transformation isn't graceful. It's violent. It doesn't ask. It rips. Real change feels like grief, because it is grief. Grief for who you used to be, for the people who no longer fit, for the time you wasted protecting a life that never really belonged to you. No one tells you that becoming your future self means becoming a stranger to your current one. And that hurts. Because deep down, you don't just fear failure. You fear being alone on the other side of your evolution. There's a version of you that wants to evolve, to become cold, focused, untouchable. But there's another voice too, and it doesn't scream. It whispers. You're fine the way you are. You're being too hard on yourself. They won't love you if you change. And that voice, it wears your tone. It sounds like self-compassion, but it's self-preservation masquerading as love. You keep walking toward the door of your future, but something in you won't turn the handle. Not because you don't want what's behind it, but because you know, once you cross that threshold, you can never go back. And there's comfort in the ruins. There's safety in the ashes of who you used to be, even if it's killing you. Here's what no one tells you. When you finally begin to rise, to speak less, move cleaner, hold eye contact longer, they won't clap for you. They'll flinch. They'll mock the silence you fought to earn. They'll call you arrogant. Because your presence now exposes what they've been hiding from themselves. You become a mirror, and mirrors are dangerous in rooms full of lies. And when you stop making yourself small, you'll realize how many of them only love the shadow you wore to make them feel taller. They'll say you changed, that you've become distant, but the truth is, you finally became someone they could no longer use to feel superior. And it hurts. Because it's not just the bad people you'll outgrow, It's the ones you thought would always be in your future. But they were only loyal to your silence. When you begin doing shadow work, you uncover something terrifying. That half your friendships were trauma bonds. That your identity was built around avoiding abandonment. That most of your habits are just anesthetics, meant to numb the guilt of your own self-betrayal. You were never lazy. You were fragmented. You were constantly negotiating between who you could be and who others needed you to stay. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. You thought you were failing, but you were just avoiding the part of you that needed to die. Becoming who you were meant to be isn't a path, it's a wilderness. There are no maps, just broken mirrors and echoes of the person you once were clawing at your ankles as you try to move forward. You begin to see yourself in fragments. A mirror, shattered. Each piece reflecting a different version of you. The child who craved approval. The teen who shrank to survive. The adult who kept rehearsing safety instead of stepping into power. You don't just walk away from that. You bury it. And that burial, it doesn't come with closure. It comes with ghosts. You'll wake up some days and mourn people who are still alive because their access to you has died. You'll grieve the identity you wore like armor until you realize it was also your cage. And still, you'll have to keep walking through the smoke, through the cold, through the silence that no one else can understand, because true becoming feels like madness before it feels like clarity. So pause for a moment. Breathe. Not the shallow kind, but the kind that forces you to feel. Close your eyes. Now ask yourself, what is still alive in me that I already know I must let die? Is it the habit? The performance? The fear of being seen in your power? Or is it the self you've outgrown, but still keep feeding? You keep revisiting the same places in your mind, as if some memory will finally offer permission. You replay the conversations where you bit your tongue. You re-feel the betrayal, the silence. The moment you realized you were being tolerated, not loved. You try to justify staying. They mean well. It's not that bad. Maybe I'm just overreacting. But you know better now. Because the room never changed. The people never grew. You just learned to dim your light so they wouldn't feel exposed. And now you carry the weight of two lives. The one you're meant for, and the one you're still pretending fits. No wonder you're tired. No wonder you snap at small things. No wonder the future feels like a threat. You're still trying to make peace with a life you should have already buried. What if the real reason you haven't changed is because part of you doesn't want the future you claim to desire? Not because you don't believe in it, but because you know, deep down, that version of you wouldn't recognize this life, wouldn't tolerate these habits, wouldn't be available to these people. And that means everything you've built, everything that feels familiar, would have to go. That's not a glow-up. That's a funeral. And you've been calling it procrastination, when really, it's grief in slow motion. You are not waiting for motivation. You are not waiting for clarity. You are mourning the version of yourself that cannot come with you. This is why it hurts. This is why it's hard. Because growth isn't about adding more. It's about sacrificing what's in the way. If this is speaking something quiet in you, consider liking and subscribing, so the ones who need this might find it too. Nietzsche once said, "The snake which cannot shed its skin must perish." You were taught to improve, to polish, to optimize. But no one told you that your next evolution isn't hiding in a new routine. It's hiding in the grave of your current identity. And until you're willing to burn it, the stories, the apologies, the inherited fears, you will keep mistaking comfort for peace. You will keep calling familiarity love, even when it's just a cage you've decorated with memories. Carl Jung, one of the last great explorers of the human soul, once stated that, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." But you're awake now. You've seen the cost, and that means the old life is already dying. All that's left is for you to stop reviving it. So, now you know. The future you want requires a death, not just of your habits, but of your identity, of the version of you who was built to survive the past, not to claim the future. You will not rise clean. You will rise burned, scarred, alone, but free. Because the path to becoming is not a staircase. It's a burning field. And every step forward is a step away from who you used to be. You won't get applause. You won't get closure. But you will get reborn. So here's the truth. Not everyone gets to go with you. Not every version of you deserves to survive. Some loves must die. Some names must fade. Some memories must rot, so something sacred can rise in their place. This is not self-improvement. This is a self-burial, and on the other side of it stands the version of you that no longer begs for permission. What rises from that grave will no longer flinch in the light. So tell me, when the fire starts, will you run back to the ashes, or will you finally walk into the wilderness and let the old you burn? Because the future isn't waiting. It's already mourning the you that never arrived.